Welcome to the Language of Markets Live Wednesday session. Hope you guys had a good, it's the 29th of May. Month's almost over. Hope you guys had a good weekend, good long weekend. Nobody's in jail, right? Seemed like a long weekend, huh? I know, I'm a little busy here. I've turned into a web mistress. You guys remember that term? The old, the 90s running websites called them web mistresses. So turning into quite the fumbling professional here. All right, so we have screen. We have everything going. Give me just one more second. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some interesting work. But first, guess what? We got a home now. All right, we got a home. We got a website. And so the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the website. So I'm going to show you guys around it a little bit, and we can begin signing up, and you guys can see if you can break it or not. That was not a different kind of website, Edward. At least I don't think so. It was a long time ago. All right, so number one, I want to thank Edward and Grace. All right, they gave themselves so beautifully to get this up, and eventually we're going to tidy it up a little bit. But any clunkiness, okay, any clunkiness that's in the website is on me. It's due to me because I pretty much wanted functionality, get it going real quick, make sure everybody has a place. And it looks like it works. You guys will pound on it and see what breaks, and then we'll figure it out from there. Hey, Chan, there you are. You thought you was here, but you weren't here before? All right, so let me just explain a few things because we're going to be using the website and getting our videos from it, getting our links from it, and all that good stuff. And we just got it started. Like I said, any clunkiness is due to me. It's on me. For the next few days, we will be sending out recording links as well. Right? So you guys are ready to sign up now. You guys are ready to sign up because come Monday, we are going to change this GoToMeeting link and probably not be emailing the recordings. And you guys tell me if you have any questions along the way here. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour. Yeah, so we'll get a new link for June. So you guys see the website, right? Cool colors. Got a name. I got to, work on some taglines and all that good stuff. I'll show you. There's not going to be a registration, Pete. You're just going to, number one, you're going to log in. You got a choice to log in from here, from here, from here. Right? This is the home page. And so number one, you're going to log into your account. When you do log into your account, you will have access to the current link, which is right here. And so if you click on that, what that will do is open up GoToMeeting. And that particular link will be good all month long. So I don't know if I can actually put the link in there and you can save it. But that particular link will be good all month long. So at the end of the month, this is going to change. And there is no registration. The only big difference that's going to happen that you didn't get before, or that you were doing before, was I think GoToWebinar was sending everybody reminder emails. So that's not going to happen unless we change our plan or redo something. But the good news is you don't have to fill out that stuff and register. All you have to do is either click here or save that link. The link will work. So for now, that's what we're doing. So on the website, all right, once you're logged in order to sign up, you come over here, products. We have products now. And it's basically the live monthly sessions we're doing. All right? And so this is, $190, or you can do the annual. It's up to you. And you guys already know the deal. You don't have to be logged in to see the products. No, Grace, thank you. I was going to go back and show what happens when you do log in. And yes, we're going to, we still got some things to work on. But you just choose sign up, whichever one you want. It's going to take you, where you fill out your name. You choose credit card or PayPal. It will ask you for your username and a password. Okay. Can't connect using info sent in mail. Could you send another link, please? Can't connect to the GoToMeeting, John? Edward, why is your name on that form? Those are actually my initials, Edward. But John, are you not connecting? Or Ed? Yeah, John, are you not connecting to GoToMeeting right now? Is that what you're telling me? Let me just do this for John. I put it right in Slack. Oh, thank you, Pete. Thank you. Pete put a link for the meeting there. Oh, if you can't connect, you can't hear. Thank you, Chan. If you can't connect, you can't hear me. All right. I'll get there. We'll get to, you know what? We're going to get back to trading really soon here. So anyways, you, and John, you can watch the recording on this bit. So anyways, you fill out what you want. You can choose credit card. You can choose PayPal, blah, blah, blah. All right. And that will, now that will send you to where the recordings are. All right. So all the recordings are going to be on this LOM Live. So you see we already have a few going on here. And so all you do is continue reading, and we're still cleaning stuff up. And by the way, you can get the GoToMeeting link from here. So basically, once you sign up, you're pretty much going to live on this tab right now. I don't have the blog going. We don't have anything filled out in this. We're still working on the other stuff. But you can get everything you need here. And so here's the recordings. And, you just play, listen to me babble. If you hit this little guy right here, makes it full screen. Hit escape, brings you back. And so you'll have the recordings on this LOM Live page. If you're not logged in, you will not get the recordings. No freeloaders. Any questions there? Pretty easy, right? Boom, boom. And so we'll stack them up. The only thing I'm working out, guys, is the downloading bit here. So I need to talk to some support people because you guys want to be able to download it. Most people tell me they want to be able to download it. So I'm going to try to make these downloadable. I'll try. But if not, they'll be here. They're yours. I'm not going to restrict them. They're yours to do what you want with. So it's just continue reading, blah, 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 blah. And, we're still cleaning up a few things. Some of these have a title on it. Yeah, with the links, Edward, you can download them. I made them downloadable, but I'm still trying to figure out how to make it downloadable while it's embedded in here and make it work. The only other thing you have to know about this site, and by the way, you can just email me or Wendy for questions. The only other thing you have to know is to get to your account. Okay, to get to your account, it's here. So once you're logged in, you can log out, or to get to your account, it's here. And once you do that, you'll have, this will be the third. I should have took some of that off. Huh? Once you do that, you can choose your subscriptions. This was a test account. And this will tell you your membership enabled, yes. You can update your credit card. If you have a PayPal, you'll have to update that PayPal account. Or you can cancel me and give me the boot. So you do that with subscriptions, or you can, see what payments you made. And, we might add some features to this account page at some point, but this is functional, it's workable, it's easy. You've downloaded them, just not. Where'd you download them from, Edward? I'm already free, huh? All right. So any basic questions? What you're going to do is, you'll sign up at the products. You'll pick if you want an annual. These are reoccurring. And so, you cancel them when you want to cancel them. If there's any problems, all right, you got any problems with the billing or any of that, just email me or Wendy. We'll take care of it. All right. But it's recurring. It's either $190 or you can go ahead and spring for the annual. The annual will give you 2 months free. And so once you're there, it's just a matter of watching the recordings. And I'll start getting the blog up. We'll get some resources in there. Nate sent me a nice Excel on 3-to-1 and money management. We'll start putting some things in here. And eventually we'll have a place for some of you guys to do some things. That's in the future. But pretty easy, right? Home. And then you can get to your account here once you've logged in. And then all your stuff is going to be here. And if you have any problems with the recordings, just let me know, because I can always just send you a link and figure out what the problem is. Thank you, Shane. Yeah, you can use Shane at languageofmarkets.com or Shane Blankenship 759, either one. Or Wendy at Language. Thank you, Edward. Edward posted it in Slack. And what I'll do is I'll come over here and make sure you guys have the website URL, because it's going to take a little bit, I think, for Google to start recognizing it. So, that's basically it. Okay, languageofmarkets.com. And you guys already have the emails because you're already contacting me. All right, so thank you for being patient. And yeah, thank you, Edward. Yeah, there's a place to contact here if all else fails. All right, you just fill out a form. Say, hey, where's my money? Why'd you take so much money? What are you doing here? Where's the trade? Whatever. We all good? Everybody get it? Not too bad. Get the link here. So Monday we're going to get a new link, guys. And any hiccups along the way, because I know people watching the recording, just email. We'll take care of everybody. This is a homey place. It's community, okay? So we're going to have to beat on this a little bit. We're going to have to tidy it up, but we're rolling. We got a home. It's exciting. All right. Now we ready to work? Now we ready to work? I think so. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, we started doing some bar by bar and price action, and we were doing the swings as a way to set a routine and stuff in the morning. This is just some work I was doing with somebody. And we're going to, it's pretty simple. We're going to keep reviewing this kind of a thing in the background. And it's a really simple exercise, but we'll keep reviewing it. Follow the swing. Okay, that one gets beat. Now what? Follow these. They're holding, right? They're continuing to hold one way or the other. They're continuing to hold. And so this is a connecting exercise. We're going to leave off of building a morning routine for a few days. And what I want to do is start to introduce one of the simple frameworks, a method, and give some instructions and get to practicing on that. And then we'll come back and we'll squeeze the routine part in as we go. But we're not going to leave that off completely. But I want to start on one of the simple methods we've designed. And it's something we've talked about here, but we haven't really articulated it. I have for some students. But, we'll just get to working on it and beat it, and we'll create it as we go. And I think you'll find it very interesting and very simple, a simple way to see markets. But, before we even get to that, today was like my first little trade. Okay? Today was just like my first little trade that I've done because I've been, a bit busy. And so I just want to walk you guys through like a simple look at a market, because that's really what this is about here, what we're doing. We're trying to change the way we see markets and trading and be able to, not be so, as Grace mentioned before, take the intensity out of it so that we can see, right? So we can see without all the craziness, just a simple trade. We're going to learn the language. We're going to learn price. But we want to see the simple trade that's in front of us. Right there. Boom. I mean, this is what it's about. It's the practical end of trading. And there's no reason why trading is simple, but we do make it complicated. I do too. Everybody does. But it really is simple, and it's simple for everybody, actually. It's just a matter of how you're seeing the market at the time. That's all. It's a matter of how are you seeing the market at the time. And that will determine how simple it is. It's not just plugging in setups. It's not just, we have to learn this stuff. But we want to be able to use some simple ways to take this crazy, right? What do I do with this when I come to the market? And I'm just trying to use myself as an example, because I just started to get tuned in a little bit today and put a little trade on. And it had nothing to do with magic. It had to do with some of the simple things we've learned here. And the analysis, it didn't take me hours. It didn't take intense focus. It took a little bit of a relaxing of my mind, which is very important. And then just looking and being able to frame things up. So when I look at this, it looks crazy. We have the pound, we have Brexit, we have all kinds of, it just looks crazy. But watch what happens once you start to structure this in swings. We can begin to take some of the crazy out of it. Just like that. Oh, okay. Now, we did the bar by bar thing to get ourselves connected, and we can do that. All right, we can do that. That's part of the whole show. But this morning it was just seeing waves. See, I'm just seeing there's just a wave here. This is where we want to get to. Now, I know we have to take the long way around. We have to study. We have to work hard. We have to struggle. But in the end, once you do all the push-ups and all the studying, it's about, oh, okay. See, I don't have to take much apart. This is directly from the lessons we've been doing for a few weeks now. Right? I get curious. If price turns up, see, I'm not predicting. I can draw a line to project. That's what this is. I can draw a line to project. And I could say, okay, that's a modified shift line. Or I can just do it like this. It really does not matter. It really doesn't. And that's projecting that red swing. And now, I'm not taking in whole bunches of information, but from the practice I've done, from the training I've done, some of that stuff already sits in there. I mean, we can see that this is a swing, and then it gave up. It's that simple. We can see this is a swing, and then it gave up. And we can see, all right, it tried to make a new low. This is a swing too. See? Now, it's not the same size, different size. This is a swing too. On the way up, see, I'm working my markets now. I don't even need to see that. You know, I can look, and you guys remember we have our different things that stick out that we use. So we can not worry about the little stuff. So let's look. What sticks out here, right? This big fat tail. Okay? Does that make sense? That big fat tail, and we mark the tail, and somebody just write for me what happens. Just describe it in your own words. And if you're watching the recording, just describe it in your own words. What price is telling a story? What story is it telling you right here? Just take what we did with one tail and put it in words for me. Because that's what this whole show's about. Price is telling a story. It's our job to get that story. And so we're going to use some very simple things so we can understand the story. So then we can make effective trades. After the tail, price makes a new low and tests the tail zone. That's good, Grace, right? Phil says it's trying. But Phil, read the story. Read the story from, say, here. All right? And then like you're writing a book. It's really telling a story here. So when I see this is sellers did show up, Chan, right? Adam says price tests the retail, and then what? Test the tail, and then what, Adam? Before making new lows. And by the way, I'm doing this because I'm going to make this an exercise eventually, and makes a new low. Now, if I said price makes a tail, makes a new low, and then retests the tail before making another new low, I'm getting a little closer to telling the story, aren't I? And you can do, I'm going to make this an exercise. I just haven't articulated it out for everybody. But we can say, you know, very simply, price makes a new low. And this is where you guys can use your own verbiage, your own language. Just make it truthful. So I'm just going to speak off the top of my head, and it just from what I see. Turns up, right? That's truth, right? Makes a new low, turns up. All you have to be is truthful, but you can use your own voice here. And this is what I encourage. I'm kind of giving you a heads up to an exercise we're going to do eventually. But use your own voice. We want to know the story. So price turns up, and then what? Retest the tail. And you might ask, how does this help me with the trade? Can anybody answer that? Because I'll always get that question. How does doing this help me with the trade? This little bit I'm doing here. Because this is what's going on in my mind before I hit the trade. I'm not saying, does this checkbox meet that checkbox? And does this meet my checklist here? And does this have a here? And is this an official structure and a setup I've memorized here? Grace says, because you're seeing what price is actually doing. Phil says, you know where the buyers and sellers are watching them. I'm getting to something a little more internal, though. Remember how we started? We started like, what the heck? What do we do with that? Gobbledygook, that weirdness. And now we're structuring, we're mapping. And so what does this do for us? How does this change our mind? How does this change how you experience the market? We're getting out of, I'm getting out of the way, Grace, and just the fact. But do you see that when we went from, oh my God, all of this to this, do you see that your mind's relaxing a little bit into reading it? Does anybody else get that? Because that's what we're trying to accomplish overall with this whole thing for everybody. Because trading isn't in the method, it isn't in the setup. There's hundreds of methods, there's hundreds of setups. It's not in the secret line, and there's no secret sauce I'll be hiding from you and trying to sell you at a premium. It does. It settles your mind, right? It changes how you see it. It changes how you experience the market. It's the same way. Somebody walks up to you and starts yelling at you and cursing you, you're going to see them in one light. Somebody starts flattering you, right? You're going to get a whole different experience about that. That will settle your mind too, but it'll be a different experience. Same person, different experience. And so that's what doing this little thing is doing. It's not helping me with the trade right away, but it's helping to, relax my mind. So you don't have to swallow psychology books or, neuroscience books to get this. All that's going to tell you is what's happening. This is the how-to part. You're not going to positive think your mind, into relaxing. I wish they would stop doing that to me, all right? And so I'm not asking you to believe me here. I'm just asking you to look and say, does this feel a little better now that you can understand it? Just test that out for yourself, right? Oh, okay, price retests the tail and then makes a new low. And feel free to use your own verbiage here and say it in your own way, and you can use as much hyperbole as you feel like. Just make it true. You can be poetic, you can use flair, you can be dry. Just make it true. All right? But it is a story, so don't be too dry. Don't tell a boring story. You can throw a little emotion in there if you want, as long as the emotion thing is true. But, it's your emotion. It's added. It's extra. It's a little flair. And so, okay, then makes a new low, okay? And so we can get a little more, since we do know how to read price, we can get a little more intricate with this. And we can even say, price makes the new low from, what do you notice over here in our bars, by the way? So there's a few things that we're going to try to do with all of this teaching. One is to see the markets in a different way. All right? We want to see the markets in a different way so we can actually trade them. The other thing we're going to do is use everything as a learning experience. And so we can learn from price. Raj, right? You see the outside bar. Now we all know outside bars. We've learned that. Right? It sticks out. Raj, if you see that this outside bar sticks out, and you see that this tail sticks out, what else in any of this sticks out in the very simple price language we use? So now I've got our minds on the story rather than the setup, and now we can learn. So come on, we use big tails. We got the big tail. We use outside bars. You know, we use big hard ups and hard downs. You know, there's a big hard down, but it's not all that sticking out. And we use gaps. Do you guys see a gap that sticks out in all this mess? So just take your time and start from here and roll through the chart and tell me if you see a gap. See, normally I'd go bar by bar and maybe we'd notice it. But, you know, I'm just kind of, I felt like learning now. Hey, Raj, 10 a.m.? All right, you see that? Okay, cool. So maybe you didn't see it before. And so, okay, you remind yourself a little bit, you know, what sticks out? You don't have to look at everything, but what sticks out? What's the biggest tail? What's the biggest outside bar? What's the biggest gap? Look at that puppy. You see that? So we want to get curious. Is this gap also helping to tell a story? Look at this outside bar. Is this gap also helping to tell some kind of a story? A little bit. Yeah, right. Boom, boom. And maybe that goes into our learning a little bit. Okay? All right, so we have an outside bar. We know how to mark outside bars. You know, something like that. And so we can say, you know, and the new low from, and, you know, my storytelling's a bit dry. You know, some of you are better at this than I am. Just make it true. And a new low from an outside bar. And all you have to do is check if it's true or not. Then price turns up. And, you know, this is where I'm watching the market in the morning. All right? That's the end of my story live. If I wanted to elaborate on my story with my markings up here, I could also say price makes a new low, turns up, retest the tail. With what? What else could we say about this? Price makes a new low, returns up. What else could we say that's true about this, just with what I have on my chart? And see, these are some of the details we kind of skip over. I mean, we're not using a lot here. We're just using swings. Effort reversed, but Phil says same size swings. Buyers gapped up. Buyers did gap up into the tail. You could say that too. Buyers gapped up into the tail. You're getting a little wordy, Raj. I could tell you're a little wordy with your stories, huh? Buyers with what Phil says, same size swing. That's true. Look. And so if we take our time, we're not looking at anything on this chart other than what we learned just last week. Tails, swings, outside bars, gaps. That's it. And, you know, one thing you might want to do when you're looking at price action, look for the biggest or significant. Biggest tails, outside bars, gaps, hard down. And then we can get to the, you know, the more nuances from that. So you can come to the chart. What's the biggest tails, gaps, outside bars, hard down, major and minor swings. There's your checklist that we can do in the morning. See, I guess we're inventing it right now as we go. But there's a very simple checklist. Now, this might get you a trade, might not get you a trade. But when I come and I did this this morning, I saw, look at the size of that gap or this tail. Somebody really reached. And I see Look at the buzz cut flat tops, okay. It kind of washed this whole level, all right. And then it made a new low. See, this looks really funky here, doesn't it? That little piece of price action. But it's just a swing. See, this looks really funky, but it made a new low, it confirms a high. It made a new low, it confirms a high. It made a new low, blah, blah, blah. This is gold. The only thing is we don't do it because we get too fancy or we're too tense. And really all I'm doing here as a technique is maybe slowing us down to take a pause. You ever need to take a pause, take a breath before you wanted to punch somebody in the nose? You're just taking a pause. Or before you go do that third trade you banged away at, you take a pause, you take a walk. Because your mind is just going, I got to do this, I got to fix this, I got to get this. I can tell you not to be emotional, but that's stupid. I can tell you not to be wound up, but that's stupid. You're wound up, you're wound up. That's what you're being. There's no two ways about it. All you can do is notice that and take a pause. And actually, the more you notice that, the less it happens. It's kind of a slow drip that way. And so once I start doing this, I'm slowing down a little bit, and now I see a story. There's a story in price. I'm in the middle of being a web mistress this morning, and then, oh man, that looked just easy to me. And it wasn't because I had secret lines. I already see the line there. I can draw it if it makes me feel better. Or I can do this. And then when price gets all excited and hits it, I can either just hit it, or I can wait for a retest, or I can wait for another retest. Or if I'm really wanting to fight things or thinking it's going to turn, I could buy it here. Why could I buy it here? Because I understand something about swings. And this is a new swing on the way up. See? And we've only got a little bit of data that's important to us here. Now, I can make intelligent decisions either here or here. Maybe I don't have an absolute stop. I'm going to use at least a 20-tick stop on this. That buys me some room. I'm going to check my 3-to-1. And, if it drips down the line, I make it. If it hits it early, I don't make it. Okay, but I can tell you one thing. If I hit this trade, I'm going the right way. Now, after I enter this trade, price does that. And I think, okay, I'm history. Should have went long. But I got a plan. That's part of my discipline. I'm not hit. And I know better than to just let one bar. It'll excite me, but I know better than to start jumping around off. I know better than to be a slave to that particular impulse. And that's what it is. It's a slavery. And so that's where a little bit of discipline comes in. And you know what? The more I do this and the more I see it, the less discipline is needed. But, yeah, I thought I was a goner here. It was like, oh, man, I should have went along that one. But you make a plan, and this is a solid plan. Don't you think so? Gets me a stop up here someplace, not perfect. Yeah, right? I mean, it's not the biggest trade in the world. It doesn't make, a million ticks. I'm not a trading hero. But I got to tell you, after 2 weeks of not trading, it's good to have a little bit of dough. All right. Now, the only thing I did here, we used techniques. We used a method. But the real thing I did here was see the story. So I want you guys to get why we call it language of markets here. And I've always used language of price, but it's either way. It's market's price. It's telling a language. That language is telling a story. We just need to get the story. That's all. And trading can be that simple. Put the order, put targets in, went back to work, and it happened really quick, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get out now. I don't want to worry about that. So I didn't get my total 3-to-1. I guess I could have waited. But, it's not horrible. It's not horrible. I picked up a little dough. But this could be a monthly chart. This could be a futures chart. It really doesn't matter. And this is just one type of trade. I mean, trades come in a lot of forms. Look at those 2 bars making the big yeah, right? Do you feel the sellers just completely hammering it? Good. Phil feels it. Now, good. Less thinking, more feel. Phil's getting the story, whether he sees an outside bar here or not, right? Boom. Phil's getting the story. Price made a few minor swings up into this red swing. And we made a big attempt here. And we made a big attempt here. And what happened to this big attempt? Lows. What happened to this big attempt? Lows. That's gold. You can listen to the news, to the chat rooms, to the gurus, to the Forex expert who knows everything because he's on the desk, babble about why the pound is going to do this later because of blah, blah, blah. And you just look. This is what the pound's freaking doing. And you don't need no stinking expert. You need you. That's it. That's the big thing we're trying to accomplish here. We don't need no stinking expert. You don't need to believe me. You get the ability to do some simple things, then you can make a responsible decision on this. That's right, Grace, right? Don't need no stinking expert. And, I'll keep reminding you to slow down. We'll keep working on techniques and all that. But, this is kind of my main objectives with all of this. So we can all just be able to look and test things out for ourselves and go from there. Some of you have been around trading forever, and I know, Edward, the struggles we went through in the 90s, just trying to listen to people who we thought sounded like they knew what they were doing. And then you're always reliant on their indicator, their setup, their something, and you always feel a little bit of a slave to that, or you don't own it, or you have to listen to that, or that person takes more precedence over you. Been there, done that, don't work. But it also creates sort of a nasty little feeling that you have to be relying on that crap and wait for the person to give you the secret or pay for the secret or go look for a new thing. But once we can read, and I'm not saying trading's easy, it's simple, but it ain't easy. Once we can read, at least we can start doing it for ourselves, and that's the only way this works, to author our own trading. Hey, Ricardo, did you see your major Dow at this trade? Maybe for the target? Major down? Major Dow? Down? I don't know what you're saying. Did you see your major Dow at this trade? You mean back here? I'm just looking at this, Ricardo. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Maybe you can try and tell me it again. This is what I saw, though. I'm showing you what I saw. I saw we made the same size swing. We gave up here, and we came about to this same size swing again. I added the outside bar just for a little extra understanding. The engulfing bar, right? I added, I'm looking at this stuff. I added it, and that helps me with a little understanding. We have to be careful, because we're all different, and we're all at a different understanding level with price. If you add too much, you'll get overwhelmed. But whether you saw this or not, it's a push trade basically off of a V kind of a thing. But whether you saw this or not, this was easy to see because we've all been practicing this. And whether you take it or not doesn't matter, as long as you see it. Now, if you can read the story, right, the execution, we keep working on. You guys, we keep sending questions. We keep working on that. Edward says engulfing bar? Question mark. There's a bunch of them in here. But try your question again, Ricardo, and then we'll move on. But do you see what I'm saying? Does everybody see that this is kind of a simple story? And the only thing we really need to learn is how to slow down and see the story. That's about it. If you want to trade more data, then you're trading a different swing. Now you're trading, this landed into this tail, right? There's a macrocosm, and it's now trying to make a new major low. This is it's like a hologram, right? It's like a fractal. This is the same situation, isn't it? Same kind of thing. And now it's trying to make a new major low. And, and Ricardo or anybody, if I don't quite clear up your question, you can always mark up the chart. I know it's hard typing it and stuff in here. You can always mark up the chart and send it to me, if you didn't get clear on it. But, it's good to try and clear it up. So we'll give Ricardo a few more minutes to get his mind in there. But the main thing was, see the story and change how you see it. Then you take a trade. Now, I might be wrong. I might be right. But I ain't guessing. That's all there is to that. We're doing this until we're not doing this anymore. And you know what? Same thing. We're doing that until we're not doing that anymore. And if that changes, oh boy, maybe I see a big fat long coming in here. I don't know. It's tomorrow's business probably. Something like that. All right. So I'll just keep showing examples of that. Ricardo says, I know that's the right amount of data, and that's a push. I'm clear with that. I mentioned the major because I always try to identify my major. Thanks, Shane. I will send you a chart. Well, let's tackle. That's a good question. It's not that it's the right amount of data. I gave you a clue to this a minute ago. It's not that this is the right amount. This is the pertinent amount of data, or this is the appropriate amount of data for this particular trade. This helped zoom me in. And Ricardo's saying, he always tries to look at the major. And by the way, I'm not telling you how much data is the perfect amount of data because that's not possible. If you like to use a lot of data, it can get confusing, but if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's really simple for Ricardo and everybody else. No matter what frame you pick, and don't go nuts trying to pick the right one. Yeah, right, Raj? No matter what frame. If this is my frame, my biggest reaction leg is going to be my major, Ricardo. Okay? And then the next biggest would be like this. That would be my minor. That's all there is to it. If this is my frame, okay, I'm looking for the same thing. If this is my frame, I'm looking for the same thing. So don't go too nuts trying to figure out what's the perfect amount of data. Just remember, if you're using something like this, all right, we see there's a high, there's a low. This isn't an official reaction leg yet. And then you work the chart the same way. If you're using this, the biggest one's going to be the major, and the next biggest is going to be the minor. So it really doesn't matter. If you're using this, what's my major? Everybody see my major if I'm using this amount? So it would be wrong for me to tell you what's the perfect amount of data. But I'm going to say, you want to keep it in the neighborhood of 300 bars maybe, but it doesn't matter. Okay, you see it, 524 you're saying? So if this is my frame, 524, 8 o'clock was your major. Good. So this would be your major, right? You might call that your, the biggest thing you got going down, right? If that's your thing. Yes. And then what's your minor, Ricardo? These guys, right? And so that's the next biggest, right? Remember the definition? Major equals biggest reaction leg in your frame. Minor equals next biggest reaction leg. And thanks for, bringing up these questions. Because, these are all little issues we all face. And we've done our best to work out these little issues, saying, pick your frame, and it's the biggest. Oh, you're welcome. Ricardo, you're doing everybody a favor. Because this amount of data thing is a topic we can talk on for a long time. Because there's no right amount. But what we can do is say, whatever your frame is, this is that. And now you can tell the story, right? So now what's your story, Ricardo? Your story is we've made a major low, and we have same size. So if you were right here, Ricardo, we've made a major low, and you have same size minor swings, right? Rolling up into the outside bar. Does that make sense? So you just change your story wording a little bit. Yeah. See, this way you're not fixed to an amount of data. The only thing I will say is that we tend to get a little lost if we use too much data. Here's what we tend to do if we use this much. We tend to be playing some huge monster swing, and then we're going to come in here and use some little itty-bitty stop. Or if we use this amount, we get confused because we're looking, here you're looking at, say, if you're looking at a map to get across the country, and then this is a map to get around the city. The map to get across the country isn't going to help you in here. So too much, just notice if it overwhelms you. Too much bothers me because I might as well use a bigger time frame. So in the end, it's what swing are you trading? That's the question you ask yourself. Which swing am I trading? And you know how you know that? Because you can identify swings. We don't need no stinking expert. So if we were here, see, this rule fits everything now. We don't do dogma. If you were here, you'd say, that's my major. Didn't reach it. But that's still my major. Still might get there, huh? But if you were using this much data, it might take you a long time to even work that out. And what I say is, if there's a trade I can do that's 3-to-1 and I can make, 45, 60, 80, 100 ticks, I'm going to do it. We'll talk more on this data issue. Actually, I'm going to, as you guys bring this up, I'm going to start a new list of notes because it's a good topic. It's one of those to reach in. It's not one that has just a flat-out answer, as you can tell. Push trades are tricky. Well, you know what? That might just be your assumption. Maybe they're tricky in certain environments, and maybe they're not tricky. Maybe somebody else sees them very easily, and so maybe that's just, maybe they're tricky for you, and you should stay away from them for now. And that's cool, right? You'll know that by documenting. But I wouldn't say that they're overall tricky. They were tricky for me for a long time. But that was just because the way I was seeing it. But the more you learn, you might be able to ease into it and throw it into your tool bag. So leave it open. You don't have to take them, but leave yourself open to learn at least. See, if we just say, push trades are tricky for me, what have you done? You put like cement on your feet, and you've locked yourself down, and there's no possibility. If you say, I'm a duck, you're a duck, right? There's no possibility for anything else. So we got to be a little bit careful when we, say these things to ourselves. And so maybe they're tricky for you, but leave yourself open to possibly see them. It took me years. Jan says I'm a dweeb. No comment, Jan. Well, Jan, we know one thing. Jan, you can't follow instructions on a website. This weekend we were testing, and we put a big thing there that said, we're testing, don't push any buttons. And it didn't take us 5 minutes to get an email from Jan. I guess I didn't read the instructions because he started hitting buttons. But we found out it works, and he tested all the different browsers. He said a Brave browser doesn't work, but I've never even heard of a Brave browser. But thank you, Jan. Tricky because expand and sometimes don't. Ricardo, if you have the ability, and you do, right? You have the ability to see a push trade or an expansion trade or a reverse trade, right? You can see the difference in those, relative to whatever you're marking out. Okay. So some do expand. Some do reverse. Now, once you got the ability, now you can start learning and ask questions. What would be a good question there? If we have 3 types of trades, push, expand, continue, and reverse, and we know how to identify them, what questions can we then ask for our own research, right? Are there, we can start learning now. We can ask questions now once we can do that. That's the beauty. Yeah, we can. Raj says, where do they happen? Or are there certain conditions that set that up? Or, is the market in a momentum type mode? The market is never going to step in the same river twice. It's not possible. But you might start to see subtle conditions, Ricardo, that push trades happen to follow through. And maybe you see it this week, next week, and maybe in a month you'll start to see, oh, I recognize that. I'm going to try that push trade, or at least I'm going to watch it rather than just take it off my mind and not learn anything. But once you can identify it, boom, that's it. You can do that. And that's a beautiful thing. So we spent a lot of time talking about framing this, and thank you, Ricardo. I love the questions. These are all great questions. These are all great questions because we all run into these things. When to do a type 2, when to do. Well, we'll keep looking and learning as we go, but there are certain conditions that set up that say, you know what, this market's going to push. I mean, it's triggering on a roll. If nothing else, we can make our decision and at least learn, and maybe this goes into a file for a push trade that worked. What if we were to model this? I'll give you guys a little lesson on how to practice this. What if we were to model this? What might it look like? So you guys follow this in your head. We were to model this situation. What would it look like? We'd have a major. The major would come down before it hit a new low. And turn up and make a red swing. Come down again without making a new low. Do you guys see come up again in the same size, and then see I'm able to ignore all this and all this, and then what's it do? It makes the new low in a hurry and just pokes it. and comes back right into that same size swing. But in this case, it's actually, I'll be dang, they're actually pulling back into each other. So you see I'm having to rework my model. I didn't think they pulled back into each other. So you always got to check yourself. See, I'm modeling this now. And this is going to make a new low and then pull back. I thought maybe it went really low, but it didn't. That's just my imagination. So it just kind of pokes that big major low and pulls right back into that swing. Do you see the little details I've caught? And then down we go. So we get a poke and then a yay for sure. Huh? A little squish before the yay, right? You see that, Grace? See what I just did? We just changed our whole thing. We learned that this is a particular little squish before the low. And for you, you might name it something else. For Grace, it's a squish. A little yay and a squish. And so we can see that the buyers, right, they like push the boundaries here and said, it's like a little rubber band. We didn't break it, right? We pushed the limit and then we came back up and look at this guy. And then, woof. So there's a little squish, right? Yay and oh crap, all that good stuff. And we squish a little bit, and new low, bounce back, and then oh crap. So you'll have to figure out your own thing for oh crap. Now, nice example, and Ricardo says tail where the sellers or a new push. Yeah, you're starting to see it now. Okay. Now, if you take your little bit of time in the morning, or whenever you're looking at charts, and do this. If you take a little bit of time, some of these things start to pop up for you. And now you're starting to see the story price is making. And once you can see the story price is making, see, we made a little distinction here. Until you can make this little distinction squish before the yay, you don't know it. You can't write stories about it. We're writing a story about it. You can't write stories. You can't write songs about it. You can't do poetry about it until you can first identify it. Then you can start writing stories about it. And it can be big tragedies or dragon fights or whatever you want. But until you can identify it, you can't write stories about it. And you know what, Ricardo? You might see this squish and yay again 100 times, in the next few months. And then you'll see, yeah, this is a little different than the last one that did. It went and then it did a squish or something. But there's no way to computerize every one of these little situations. This is pretty typical. So for me, I've seen this kind of thing a million times. And so I don't really have to articulate it. I just kind of see it. But we're articulating it now. And, we're at least knowing how to articulate it. I don't bother writing every piece of context up because there's 10,000 of them. And, we just need to get the story. But then you take a snapshot of this, Ricardo, and it goes into a folder of push trades. And then you get a whole folder of push trades, and then you can start really dicing it out. And you'll start to understand push trades. And then you can do the same thing with type 2 trades or type 3. Now, if you have one that you resonate to more or less, then you just wait for those and you master those. You become, really workable with those. And that's okay too. But it's all good learning. It's all good learning. But no matter how we call this, it's telling a story. It's telling a story in here. And then you can draw in the squish. But this is basically we started making, minor swings before we hit the low, in the lower part of the chart. Okay, we started making minor swings before we hit the low in the lower part of the chart there. You know what? We're not going to get to our little method today, are we? That's okay. I can talk about one other subject. This is worth talking about for an hour. Just so we know what we're doing here. Just so we can come to a market that's just gobbledygook. No matter what our frame is, whether it's this or whether it's this. And we can start to make sense of it. And it's almost like once we get the story, we can communicate with it. We can get on board with that story. Don't fight the story. You're going to lose. And so we learned how to do a few simple things. And don't feel bad if you didn't do them. I'm just going to keep going over it and reminding me and everybody else where it's at, even if we did miss them. A lot of times we rush through it, we miss them. One of the things I noticed this week, by the way, because, I've been busy setting things up and making sure everything's working and all that stuff. But one of the things I've noticed personally, by the way, is that a lot of times my mind just keeps pushing me. Got to do this, got to do that. I try to rest for 5 minutes. You got something on your mind. No, you got to take care of that. You try to rest. It's like beating me to death. And it's punching me. Hey, get up, do this. Now you have this much to do. Hit this to-do list. And it does the same thing when we get to trading. Our thoughts start to get awful demanding, saying you got to do something now. You got to be here now. You got to get this done now. It's like a little to-do list. And it starts to push us around so we don't get things. Anybody ever notice that? Or is that just my movie? If we get busy, the mind starts to push us around a little bit. Hey, you got to do that. You can't rest. You can't pay attention to what you're doing. You got something to do later. The truth is, you can only do one thing at a time. It's not just me. Good. If you look, our thoughts like that get awful demanding and pushy. And this happens with trades. This is what an impulse trade is, by the way. For those of you who have different impulses, that's what your mind is saying. Hey, get on board. And so one of the things when we take the intensity out and slow down a little bit, we're saying, hey, it doesn't have to be that much of a rush. You're going to lose money anyways like that. So I just thought I'd mention it because I noticed it this week. Why do I notice it? Because I'm paying attention. We always want to pay attention. Now I want to cover one little subject before we move on. We're going to move on into one little subject. And then we'll wrap it up. And we'll work on this framework, this new framework on Friday. So last week we were talking about having a string of losers. And, what that does to us. And so we had a little conversation. We're going to have a bigger conversation about that. But we talked about, you have a string of losers. You start to lose, you start to get 5, 10, 20 stops or whatever in a row. It's kind of hard to shake out of that thing. I just want to say a couple words on that today. When you have a string of losers like that, it doesn't feel so good, does it? When they're in a row like that, it does not feel so good when you have a string of 5, 10, 15, 20 losers. You better have money management to protect you, right, Edward? That way you can stay in the game. But it still don't feel too good, does it? You start wondering, what the heck am I doing? Yeah, and you start questioning everything. What am I doing? I can't do this. And it doesn't feel so good. And what I tell people, if you get 10, 15, 20 in a row or more, that's actually a good thing. Anybody know why? And who was it? Had 30? I think he had the record so far, 32. Although I haven't checked my records. I might have forgotten my 40s way back when. But it's actually a good thing. If you get 5, 10, 20 stops in a row, exactly, Grace. Well, things do change, right, Phil? But think about it. If you get 10 to 20 stops in a row, you are doing something very consistently. Just random stops, how are you going to figure that out? But yeah, you're doing something very consistently. And also, Raj, it's like getting punched, it doesn't hurt so much after a while. You get used to it. And you realize it's not going to kill you. You don't get so afraid. That's another benefit. But you're also doing something very consistently. And if you're documenting, you can now clear your mind, take an afternoon, take a weekend, and look at your charts, and you'll probably find, if you clear your head, that you're doing something in particular. So whenever I have a student and they tell me they got a bunch of stops and they're really, they're despair over it, I'm like, this is good news. Yeah, I know, it doesn't feel like good news. It's always good news until it happens to you. This is good news. It means let's go look now. Look and let's see what you're doing. And then you get that little aha moment, and it's a learning experience. And there's a lot of reasons we get into that. Sometimes the market, we've been doing a bunch of longs that have been working. We've had a good month or 2 months or 3 months, and the market has changed gears and you didn't change gears. Sometimes you just got too busy and you're not paying attention anymore. I mean, it could be anything, but you're doing it very consistently. Hey, Phil, after 10, I put myself in the penalty box. It's okay, to put yourself aside at a certain level, and that's beautiful that you have it as a safety valve. That'll keep you in the game. But then we got to go to the next level and say, all right, what's kind of going on here? Because you're doing something over and over and over and over. And the break's like a vacation, right, Phil? You could kind of rest your mind a little bit, get off the point of contact. But some of us will hang on to it. Some of us are good at hanging on to that stuff. But still, you're doing something consistently, and there's a lot of reasons for it. You're fighting the market in some way for some reason. And so if you're doing something consistently, that's continued behavior. That's an agenda, no different than our press work. If you see something happening consistently, that's an agenda, something going on there. And it's easy to spot, just like it is on a chart. Now, I'll just give one example, something that I see typically that happens to people. Let's take this ES. Now, you guys have seen this ES. I just picked up on it a couple weeks ago, and it's just been flowing so nicely, right? So one of the things that happens to people, and this is something you can check. People don't look at this. One of the things that happens to people that end up, especially after they've had a few good months, that end up on a losing streak, is the market changed. I went through a little volatility thing a couple months ago, but let me just try and give you a visual. All right, I'm going to switch this to a daily. Okay? So this is a daily ES. Let's say you're a day trader. I'm just going to try to give you a visual. Now, can you imagine, what do you notice about all these bars here for the month of April? And this is something you can check. I tell you guys, you should check your daily volatilities every, month or two just to see. Evan, you see small size, they're grinding up, right? Small size, grinding up. Good. See, they're smaller than all of these. And you can put an actual measure on here if you want. Not open interest. We don't do no stinking open interest. All right, so we can put an ATR on here. We can say, okay, we're at 26. Over here we're at 27. We're at 30. But we can see that they're small. We can see that they're small. Now, what do you think for the month of April the day trading was like? Can you imagine it? Can you imagine what the day trading was like? It was yay as long as you were getting long, right? And it looked like you could probably do easy longs during the day, and most days you were making money, or at least, most weeks in April, if you were just following the market, wake up and get long kind of a thing. Almost all setups will work, everything. Look how organized this is. See, this is a little coil here, guys. This is like, oh, boom, 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 boom. Right? So these were just, and dice it out in your head. These little swings. See them? See them? Look at that. So the day trading, if you were on the right side, most of your longs weren't taking too much heat, even though you were on a tick chart. You would have a couple days, once in a while where your longs took heat. See? Here, here, not many. Okay, now, so let's say you spent the month of April saying, yay. All right, I'm ready to write a book now. I had a killer month. I might even go run money. You don't know what's going to happen on the left. Yeah, right, Phil? Now, imagine you're keeping your style. You probably had a rough few days here. But imagine you're keeping your style all through here. You see the bars getting bigger? Do little itty-bitty longs, do you think they're working here? Look at the size of these bars now. So, if you, day trading, did not adapt yourself and you got all comfy, everything you made in April, you gave away the first week and a half of May. So long longs, right? But also, see the volatility difference, Grace? Here you're doing a little bit of cheap stuff. They're all working. Now, you don't have to mix and match charts. What you'll do is when you're on a tick chart, you'll see that the days are bigger. They're wilder. You better pause. And what Phil says, after a certain amount of trades, he's taking a timeout. That's saying, hey, guess what? You ain't in sync no more. But what if we can be a little more sensitive than that? Does everybody get what I'm saying? This is going to be one type. The market changed, and if you didn't change, you gave it all back, and still giving it back. And so that's one of the big things I see. Here, you can see it on a tick chart. Look at this. See all the little long setups? Boom, 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 boom. It's not a tick chart, it's a 45-minute. But you can see, boom, boom. But if you kept trying that, and you were stubborn, you didn't switch. The market switched. And unfortunately, this is our tendency in our life, is to, kind of get stuck on something that works. So that's something to check out. I see that happen over and over and over. It's kind of subtle, and you don't usually notice it. And I see, I've watched some of the bigger fund managers that followed things for years and had a really good track record and give it all back in 2 years and close their funds. Why? Because they did not change. How many of your favorite fund manager, hedge fund guy heroes are in the graveyard, guys? This is why. Markets changed. They didn't change. They did not adjust to current markets. And so that kind of thing happens often. And so that's one place to look once you realize you have a string of losers. Maybe the market changed and you didn't change. This is one of the reasons I use a small frame, You guys remember before Christmas or something, maybe it was I was day trading the YM, and it was just get long every day. We were getting, by the way, Ricardo, we were day trading the YM, since Ricardo brought up push trades, and it felt weird. I got to tell you, it felt weird. We were day trading the YM. Where was it? I think it was back here. Yeah, this was it, guys. We were day trading this guy, and it was every day you could do a push trade. Anybody remember that? Because I don't often trade the YM, but we were trading it in here, and I was showing charts every day, right? We could do this little itty-bitty push trade with a cash stop every single day. I was showing him on my charts over and over. I couldn't believe it. And Ricardo, I was uncomfortable. But as Raj says, it was easy money, whether I'm comfortable or not. And so I'm trying to give an example of myself every single day. And we walked through this too. I think we even were looking at the big gap on this chart while everybody was freaked. We did mark it. We marked the minor and we marked the major. And so every single day I was doing these little itty bitty push trades. This is a daily chart, but we were on a tick. And they all just made money. And then they stopped making money here, and then this happened, and I quit doing that. And actually, when this happened, I told everybody to quit trading this thing because it's too crazy. And you know what? I was able to keep my money. And so you have to adapt. And that was without looking at a daily chart. It's just, okay, that's not happening anymore. Don't do that. But if that's happening, that's the simple side of trading. If something is just flat out happening, get on board. All right? You don't need a setup. If you can see something, continued behavior principle, that's just happening, and you can make money from it, you don't need a line to tell you or to validate that. Do you guys get my point? If you see, that's what a trader is. They see something happening. That is an opportunity. That's what a trader does. The lines, okay, they do cool stuff. But when you look at the market and you say, wake up and buy the dang YM, and you say, oh, I don't trade YMs. I don't do that. I trade this. Or I don't do this. I don't like that. Well, then you're a stuck trader. I know, because I've been a stuck trader, and we need to loosen up a little bit, right? We need to put a little boogie in our move here. And so that's what trading is. You see a continued behavior, whether it's a swing, presses, or whatever, press trades. If it's continuing, then boom. If you had a good time here, guess what? It's over here. And the markets do that over and over. See, this was a good time to be day trading. And sometimes this can go on, geez, remember the ES? It can go on for years like that. So we need to adapt as traders. That's the big lesson. Along with 10 others I threw in there. All right, so let's wrap it up. We'll talk about, we'll give some instructions for the framework later on. Today, I'll also be emailing links for the recordings, and when you sign up, please sign up, you can get them from the website. So you'll have your choice today and Friday. But after Friday, we're going to start booting you. Any questions? Thank you, Raj. I thought it was pretty cool the way we kind of just went over and saw the story of the pound there. I was trading. Okay, we're doing that. We'll try that. I appreciate it, Phil. So no questions on the website. I'll still send you some recordings. Wendy will send you a link to the recording, but they will also be on the website. That's not a boot, Phil. Or Edward. That's a high heel. Edward's got high heel boots when he gets booted. All right. We'll end on that note. Thanks, Ricardo, for the question. See you guys on Friday. Remember, take this into trading now. Tell the story of price, right? We went over it. Find your market and, write the story. And then, see what comes up. And then we'll go back over it again. So I appreciate you guys and appreciate your attention and questions. Thanks, Phil. We'll see you Friday.